Well, our moms think we're funny.
Hey everybody, my name's Comey, and this is what I do. I talk like... No, sorry. Hey everybody, it's Stir22.
And I'm a Comey. I'm attacked right now.
What?
Yeah, I
How dare do that?
didn't expect to come on here and get attacked. Go off, I guess.
To my bro. Man, I swear. Some people, it's the internet, man. This is what happens.
Yeah. Just unsolicited attacks, I get it.
Cats, not to be trusted.
So how about that Cats movie?
Oh man, that's I don't think I ever told you this, but I had this fantasy once, dream, fantasy, wish, whatever. I was like, I would love to see Jonah Hill as a furry. And thanks to Cats, that dream has been fulfilled. There's
that.
Yeah. I was like, there's nothing else I could wish for now. Being a millionaire, scratch that. Astronaut, scratch that. I'm just like, oh, this is it. I've reached the top of the mountain. I've looked down, and it was good. It was good.
Oh lordy, yeah, it was. I don't know. Part of me wants to do a let's watch of it when it's released, just to see how bad it is. But I seek out that kind of shit, so
I was gonna say if I can only imagine if we went to watch that, it would be like that scene from the Grindhouse trailer, Don't, where where it shows the guy rip his eyeballs out.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't. And it's like, if you were thinking of watching Cats, don't.
There were some big names attached to it.
Oh my god, I just elbowed it. I did not know that all the cat bodies were all CGI. I thought they actually had them in suits and wore makeup. All CGI.
Yeah, no, they're just like wearing the green screen suits, right?
That's so fucking lazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, what, you expected honest effort out of this? I mean...
And then it was the thing about people were like, why aren't they like cats with semi-human faces than with human hands instead of like paws? And then the studio goes back and they're like, oh, well, you know what? We're going to stop the movie like its second week into its run and go back and redo all the computer animation and put it back out. It worked for Sonic. They hadn't actually like come out in the theater yet. You expect people like, oh no, I wasn't going to go see it, but I'll just wait till you guys fix it up. And then the people that saw it be like, oh,
they don't have human hands. Well, now let's go watch that. I mean, at least it seems like it's so bad that it's not like increasing the number of furries in the world. So there's that.
That was a big concern of mine. I just thought that next time I go to a con, it's just going to be furries all over the place.
Jesus, I didn't even think about that.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to see Cats cosplayers.
On the plus side, though, I think what we're going to see are bad Cats cosplayers now.
That doesn't make me feel better.
It does make me feel better. It's going to be so ironic. They're like, look, because it's going to be probably people like dressed as cats, but without having anything on their hands. They just have regular human hands. And I'd be like, that's funny.
Every time we see somebody in Cats cosplay with just human hands and not paws, then we should just like targ rage until they actually cover their hands up.
Oh my god, look at those hands! They're hands!
What are you doing?
Hands!
What are you doing?
I cannot see this! Uncanny Valley! Uncanny Valley!
Oh god. It's it's really bad. It looks really bad.
So yeah, that was. I'm so glad that I had no interest in seeing that at all.
I would have been very worried for you if you had been interested in seeing it.
I'd be worried for myself. I mean, I know there are unspoken rules between the two of us, but I do feel like just to be safe, I do need to probably speak some of these rules. So if you ever see me act like way uncharacteristically out of normal, but like, oh, I can't wait to see that new Cats movie, then I would expect you to be like, oh, something has seriously gone wrong with him. It's like, do you like it's like, do you taste the color yellow? Do you smell ozone? You know, it's like, I think he may have had a stroke. Can you move the left side of your body? You know, just
Do you smell burning toast?
right. It's just you know, it's, ask me all kinds of like stuff, like double check, make sure that I'm okay. It's like, you know, if you spend a lot of time on the internet, you know, more than normal, you know, whatever it is, just make sure that I am okay. Because I'm telling you right now, don't just be like, oh, well, he's just messing around or he's going through a phase. No, those are phases I would not go through.
But you see, it's totally characteristic for me to go watch something like that just because it's bad.
I would still question it, though. I would still question. I feel like that would be my job to still question, be like, oh, so it's because you really like first. No, I just think it's going to be really, really bad, and then I would ask you afterwards. Even like right now, you just told me you're like, yeah, I watched the Joker movie. I wasn't expecting to like it, but I really did. I really liked it, and I was like, really? Are you okay? And then I asked you a couple of the phrases that we have to make sure that we haven't been replaced by robots or been brainwashed, and you answered them successfully. So I was like, okay, you know, that's, you know, I was like, oh, okay, so, you know, then you really did like it, and I was like, I guess I'll just have to live with that. And you're like, oh yeah, and then you made me understand, but like, oh, it's not a good comic book Batman movie,
Right,
but
right.
as its own kind of like, hey, here's a story about a guy who, you know, likes to dress up like a clown and, you know, and not stuff people in the crawl spaces of his house. It's not bad. And as long as you look at it like that, I'm like, oh, okay, I can accept that.
Yeah. I think if you go into Joker, like, with it not being a Batman movie, and just, it's like, oh, this is just a crime movie. This is the story of a guy who gets treated like shit by society so much that he goes crazy, then I think it's a beautiful film. So, I understand that it's like, you know, you can't really do a movie about a criminal who dresses like a clown because DC has, like, the monopoly on Joker. So I get why it's like, yeah, it kind of had to be a DC movie. I just wish that it hadn't been, you know?
But it was still unnecessary. That's my biggest thing is.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes movies come out that are unnecessary and you're like, oh, yeah, that I don't really see why they had to be done, but yeah, that's not bad. But to me, the whole point of it was unnecessary. To do the story that nobody asked for, that's completely out of context and out of continuity. And
the best argument I saw against it was that you know, the Joker is the perfect opposite of Batman. Batman represents like this impeccable, flawless logic, and Joker represents pure, unbridled chaos. And one of the very central tenets of the Batman story is his origin, which is why they show it in so many movies, is that you have to understand that his origin is so largely what shapes him as a character now. The Joker, by extension, being the opposite, is not supposed to be so focused on his origin.
right.
Like, we understand that, yeah, he fell in some chemicals and got fucked up, okay, but you don't need, like, this whole, here's his life story, here's what shaped him, makes him what he is, because he's a picture of chaos. He's not supposed to need that.
Plus, the part of the thing about the Joker is he's told so many lies about, you know, his origin that you're not supposed to know which one is real and which one is. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one it is. He's, like you say, he's this chaotic figure. He's evil, and he's not anarchist in the sense he's like the poster child for what people think anarchy is.
Right, yeah. Especially Heath Ledger's Joker. He's, like, very much the poster child for, quote, anarchy.
Right. And it doesn't really matter how he got to that point. And the other thing is, and I mentioned this to somebody in a kind of offhanded way, because, you know, depending on where I am, I've got to keep my geekiness, you know, subdued. And I was like, in The Dark Knight Returns, you know, when Batman retired, the Joker went to that catatonic state, and he was just in a coma until Batman resurfaces and he wakes up. And the Joker, Batman created the Joker in the sense of his presence is what brought the Joker out. And of course, you need someone like that because there always has to be that balance.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's the you know, unbreakable principle.
Right.
You know, if there's somebody like you out there has to be somebody like me. There has to be a balance.
Right, right.
That's why Depp kept killing all those really good Mexican chefs. So there has to be a balance.
Yeah.
You can't have a Joker before there's a Batman.
Right, right,
That
exactly.
throws especially in that movie where the Batman is still like 20 years away from becoming Batman.
Right,
It
yeah.
doesn't really work.
Yeah, I mean, like, following that movie's timeline, you know, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is like, what, in his, like, late 40s, early 50s, something like that?
Joaquin is yeah, well, I mean, to remember one of Joaquin's earliest films was Space Camp back in the 80s. He's like, I don't know, 10 years old in that.
Okay. So then, mid to late 40s?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that means that, you know, I mean, the movie ends with, spoiler alert here, the movie ends with Thomas and Martha Wayne being killed. That means that by the time Bruce goes through all his training and becomes Batman, then Joker's going to be like, what, 60, 65, 70? I mean...
Well, I guess in the movie, the Joker movie takes place in the 70s. So
Right.
we're looking at 20 years later, he's probably going to be in his late 40s, early 50s. Because he's what, like in his late 20s in the Joker movie or so?
I mean, I guess so. They don't really, like, state his age.
So you can have like a 40 to... So you still got to have a Joker that's 20 years older than a Batman.
Right, right.
And Batman doesn't really hit his stride because he's gone and he doesn't come back as Batman until he's like in his late 20s.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, no one ever mentions the fact that that Bruce Wayne does not have a college degree.
I thought he did. I thought he had, like, a master's in criminology.
When did he get that?
I don't know. When did Bill Cosby get his honorary doctorate?
Well, no, Batman doesn't have an honorary doctorate.
He's got an honorary master's in criminology.
Right, because remember,
because he's a rich kid.
He leaves at like an early age and goes around the world
Yeah.
learning all this different stuff and then comes back.
I'm trying to remember because I read the Batman Handbook like 10, 11 years ago.
Even when we look at the Christopher Nolan films, right? And Christopher Nolan, when he
yeah.
leaves after they encounter with the crime boss, Rupert. That's not Rupert Thorne. Crap! I can't think of his name now. He's the guy from Long Halloween. Because the woman says his name when she shoots Joe Chill.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen the Nolan movies.
But anyway, he goes and he has that encounter with him, and then he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't in college.
Right, yeah.
Well, I guess maybe he was in college, but he didn't graduate.
Right, yeah. I think the Batman Handbook says that he has the equivalent of like a master's degree in criminology, if I'm remembering right.
Okay, I've got the equivalent of a doctorate in brain surgery.
I mean,
I know how to fuck it up. I don't know how to fix it, but I can mess it up. I know if I do this, you don't think right for a while.
you're like the Handlebars song by the Flowbots. I can take apart the remote control, but I can almost put it back together.
What? You know that song?
Like, oh yeah, Handlebars. I love Handlebars.
Handlebars is the shit, man.
Handlebars. What the hell? Yeah. It's a great song.
I can do a podcast with no topic. No topic. No topic.
Can we though? Can we really?
Yeah, well, I know. 36 episodes later.
I stand by my statement. Can we really though? Can we?
But anyway. So, how do we start talking about Joker when Joaquin Phoenix and all that?
Yeah.
No, how did we start talking about it?
I just brought it up.
Oh,
well,
okay.
you brought it up. Yeah,
I brought it up?
Yeah, you brought up the fact that I liked the movie.
Oh yeah. So.
But yeah, like to bring that plane back around. Yeah, no. If it were not trying to shoehorn itself into Batman continuity, then I would say that it would probably be one of my top 10 favorite films.
You know, I do like Joaquin Phoenix a lot.
He's brilliant in that movie. So good.
When they were saying that there was some interest of him playing Doctor Strange, I was like, yeah. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job.
He does.
And I'm glad that he is Doctor Strange. But when people were saying they're like, Joaquin Phoenix, I'm like, no, I could see him playing Doctor Strange. I think he would have been really good.
Yeah.
I think the movie would have had a different feel and context. And I the way, like, Endgame and Infinity War played out, it would have been much different with Joaquin in the role.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to imagine just taking him and just placing him in that. But yeah, I think would have been kind of interesting.
Yeah, very much so.
So, but yeah, so like taking, being able to look at things and be like, oh god damn, I hate being a part of group text sometimes. And people just like start saying like, oh, so how was your weekend? I'm like, I don't need that shit. This is off topic. You guys need to have an A and B conversation on that. Let me the fuck out.
Have these 11 text notifications of just people saying lol.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh man,
Yeah.
my phone keeps buzzing like a beehive over here. Anyway,
But bringing up Joker and Batman and Doctor Strange and all that is a good way to segue into our topic today, actually, which is we wanted to talk about our dream comic book fights.
yeah.
And I did not come into this super prepared.
Do we even know what super prepared means?
No.
Do we know what prepared means?
No. Because we always come into it like, here's our top 10 list. I've got 13.
Okay, I just gotta say, so as I'm trying to find something to put on the background while we do our show,
Right.
I'm looking at anime, and just because normally we end up watching, like what we watched last night.
Some documentary on 70s. Oh no, the Naked Cage.
Oh yeah, The Naked Cage.
I liked it.
That was the weirdest. It was the weirdest thing. It was Vicious Lips is still the weirdest thing we've ever watched.
Yeah.
But The Naked Cage was just odd, just really really odd.
Yeah, it was an uncomfortable movie.
Yeah. And it wasn't really coherent. But anyway, so I'm like, let's find something different this time. And I just gotta say, anime shows.
Yeah.
I don't understand, like, why anime shows have to have these, like, weird titles that have nothing to do. Like, I think anime is, like, the very first clickbait.
Probably so, yeah.
Because you have like cartoons like Cutie Honey. It's like, Cutie Honey, oh, this is definitely hentai. Oh no, it's there's some space agent that's down on Earth to fight, whatever evil, and is teamed up with this guy who doesn't know shit about anything. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it's like, oh, what's this? Creamy thighs? That's definitely hentai. And it's like, no, a guy works at a robot factory and, is trying to find a way to make the robots bring them, like, artificial intelligence. Like, why do you guys have these like such weird names? You make them sound like maybe something they're not.
What's this Creepo the Fuckboy? Oh, it's just a high school drama.
Right? It's like it's like Robot Future. Oh shit, Robot Future. This is gonna be something with like mechs and everything. It's like Tentacle Monster from Hell. Like what? It has nothing to do with robots. I think secretly like someone like writes the show and they give it to like the people that do all the credits and stuff, and then just there's a guy that's like the Japanese Tyler Durden just starts swapping the names and stuff.
Japanese Tyler Durden. Do you want to die here in the Sauri? Yeah? Got a problem, sir?
No, I just wish I had some pang. Anime, good. Oh,
this is the best anime. Oh, thank you, Susan. Susan-san, thank you.
Tonight we make sobzu.
You must eliminate the fat. Can we remake Fight Club in Japanese?
Gaijin Abraham Lincoln. Big guy, big reach, skinny guys fight the burger. Is that a burger zoo? Burger zoo.
You just tack on you at the end and it automatically sounds Japanese.
That's how I do Japanese.
I mean, it sounds horribly racist, but that's just the easiest way to make it sound genuinely with like a Japanese accent.
So the other day, I showed Akomi this quote unquote movie, and it had an actress in here who, and even for the life of me, still I don't know if she was really. This thing sounds really racist. That Japanese, or if she was just pretending to be that Japanese. But her like Japanese accent was so strong.
Oh, it was amazing.
Couldn't understand hardly anything that she said.
You For the life of me, if it were between me getting killed and being able to repeat a line of dialogue she said, I would just die because I could not understand a word she said. It was hilarious.
I was like,
I know she said something about champagne,
right.
but that's only because champagne was at the end of the sentence.
Yeah, it was. I was like, her accent is so damn strong.
It's like it was her and two other people, and one of the people walked out of the kitchen, and she turns to the guy, and she's like, "What that champagne?" It's like, okay.
and it wasn't. It was an American movie. Everyone else was speaking English. She was supposed to be speaking English too. Oh my goodness,
it was funny.
I would have almost preferred that she had like a bad like Jackie Chan dub. Like, hi, my name is Chan, and I'm a cop here in Hong Kong. Where like the voiceover starts before his mouth starts moving,
right?
And it ends like when the other person starts talking. Oh, the worst part about the Jackie Chan ones is that the voice doesn't even match anything like what you would think his voices sound like.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
That'd be like if Dennis
it was Police Story, wasn't it? Where he like just basically sounds like an anime character.
No, it was that one that I was like, I can't watch this. You're like, I could watch this.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Police Story. It was
the
one
based off of that comic.
Yeah.
Shit, what was that?
I don't know.
Because, like, he promises his friend that he won't marry his friend's daughter.
No. He promises his friend that he won't bang his sister.
His sister, that's right. And then she grows up hot, and he's like, whoa, no fair. It's like so bad.
God, it had all like the weird like comic strips, sight gags and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was like, dude, I can't watch.
It's like these cheesy, like cartoony sound effects. He gets hit in the head, and it's like boom.
Like, hi, I'm Jackie Chan, and I'm Chris Toku. I mean, if you're gonna do it, why not go all out? Okay, so we were talking about comic books.
Yeah. If you could have any two comic book characters from any two companies go at it in a fight, what would you do?
All right, so I think I created this topic.
Yeah, you did this prompt
because, and I'll let you tell you what started it. Was what made me think about this was the trailer for the Black Widow movie. Have you seen that yet?
No.
So trailer 1 and 2 are out. They're interesting. Trailer 2 basically has like everything from trailer 1 with like 15 seconds of new footage in it. It's like, oh, it's in your trailer. I'm like, wait a minute, you've shown me all of this already. But the thing about it is they show the villain in it, which is Taskmaster.
Okay.
And of course, I love Taskmaster. He's one of my all-time favorite villains, even though he doesn't rank up there with people like Apocalypse and stuff like that. But Taskmaster is awesome. From the first time he was created, like, thank you, George Perez, he was like the shit.
Yeah.
And he's in this, and apparently from the way it looks in the trailer, there's a new, like, the Black Widow program is still alive, where they're training all the Black Widow agents, and it looks like they're being trained by Taskmaster. And he does some really cool shit. Well, I'll show you the trailer afterwards. He does some really cool shit in the trailer, and it's like, whoa, that's kind of nice. So I was thinking, like who you see him fight a lot of different people, and of course he always loses. And I think as of now, he doesn't actually fight anymore. He just runs his henchman training school.
Right.
But I was like, he's such a great character when he's used properly. Who would I really like to see him fight? And I was like, what would be an awesome fight? Would be Taskmaster versus Deathstroke the Terminator.
Ooh. So
people that don't know, Deathstroke the Terminator has the project that he was involved in gave him control over 90% of his body.
Now, is Deathstroke the Terminator different than just Deathstroke?
Well, they call him Deathstroke, or they,
we're talking Slade Wilson here, right? Okay, so this is Slade Wilson,
right? And like in the Teen Titans cartoon, I guess because they didn't want to use the term Deathstroke or the Terminator, they called him just Slade.
Right.
His official title is Deathstroke the Terminator, and I think in the most recent comic book they just call him Deathstroke, but yeah, he's Deathstroke Terminator.
Yeah, I've only ever heard him referred to as Deathstroke I never knew his title was the Terminator.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I'll just refer to him as Deathstroke. So he can control over 90% of his body. So, I mean, I know it's like, okay, big deal. You know, he can wiggle his ears and that kind of stuff. But that also means that he can control his heart rate. He can slow his heart rate down.
Right.
That kind of stuff. So being able to control over 90% of your body means that there's a lot of stuff, a lot of muscles and organs that you can, control. And also it makes him so much faster, and his agility and all that kind of stuff is just he's virtually unstoppable.
Yeah. He's a very cool character.
Yeah, and of course, he's a master at hand-to-hand weapons. So people that like Deadpool is a copy, homage, parody, whatever you want to call it. But basically, he's Deathstroke the Terminator, which of course they reference in things like the Teen Titans movie, Teen Titans Go movie, and stuff like that. So everything that you see Deadpool do is basically copied from Deathstroke.
Yeah, and wasn't the rumor that the reason Liefeld called him Deadpool is because where do you do the Deathstroke is in the Deadpool?
I don't know about that.
I think Liefeld has denied it, but I think there's a lot of people who claim that that's what the story is.
What I remember reading a long time ago, and I think it was back in Wizard magazine, was that people like Cable, Deadpool, and some of the other characters he brought over to X-Force were his original designs for a reboot of Teen Titans. And then he just took those characters and then repurposed them for X-Force.
Interesting.
And, and that kind of stuff's happened a lot. If you look at like Dave Cockrum's old stuff, some of the characters that he had for like the Legion of Superheroes and the Futurians became like members of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard.
Right.
And if there's like a couple, I mean, this is something that's not deniable. I've never heard his wife deny these things, but you can actually find artwork for, I think it was either a Legion or maybe the early Futurians art that actually had, I think, Nightcrawler and Storm.
Right.
In the picture, and then they were later used for X-Men instead. But anyway, Deathstroke, Taskmaster has he's a mutant, and he has what they call photogenic reflexes, which means that if he sees somebody do it, he can copy it. So in the comic book, when he was created and they did his origin, he was like, I would watch archive footage and newsreels of Captain America in action, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, and I would watch them, and watching them do something once, I could automatically repeat it.
Nice.
So it makes him, really hard to fight because he can do all that stuff. So he actually carries around a bow, a sword, a shield, a gun, and he's like the equivalent fighting-wise of Captain America, Spider-Man, all that kind of stuff. Now, he doesn't necessarily have the agility of someone like Spider-Man.
Right.
But he can copy the moves of him where, the way he twists and turns and dodges and flips and that kind of stuff. Supposedly, the person he has the hardest time fighting is Deadpool, is because Deadpool is so erratic that he can't predict his moves because he doesn't have a fighting style. He's just crazy.
Right, yeah.
And so it makes it hard for him to fight him because he can't counter his fighting style. So if you take Deathstroke up against Taskmaster, I think that would be a beautiful fight.
Yeah.
Because they're evenly matched as far as like weapon skills and capability.
Yeah.
And you've got a guy that can copy moves. You've got a guy that can control so much of his body. And, Deathstroke being a soldier and a turned mercenary. Taskmaster being, a straight mercenary. But then studying all these different things. I think it'd be a beautiful fight. That'd just be one that would just be just I think in the end they would end up killing themselves.
Right.
They would kill each other.
Okay, I like it. I think that would be a very interesting fight. So before I bring up one of the ones I was thinking of, we are actually at a good spot for an ad break.
Okay, yeah, we can take a break here, and then we'll come back and see what Akomi has to bring us.
Sounds good.
All right, and break into Electric Boogaloo.
And we're back.
All right, and you were going to tell us something about what you had chosen.
Yeah, well, the very first thing that popped into my head, and this is one I thought about as soon as you texted me, this topic was I want to see. It's funny that you brought up Deadpool. I want to see Deadpool versus Lobo because even though the characters structurally are very different, they have a very similar set of skills and powers. They both have the healing factor. They're both virtually unkillable. And subject matter wise, their comics and stories and attitudes are very similar. They're, it's all about the crass humor, it's all about the over the top violence and all that. So just from that basis, I think it would be really interesting to see what goes down there. You've got Deadpool he just kind of inserts himself into situations where he doesn't need to be. And you have like all these moments where he's like rewriting the history of the Marvel Universe to put himself in there, things like that. And you have Lobo, who's so fixated on his reputation that, like when Superman came back from the dead, Lobo caught wind of it and he was like, no, I'm the only person who can escape death, so he goes to Earth to try to kill Superman again, so he'll stay dead. So I think that, Deadpool decides to take a job out in Lobo's turf. Lobo catches wind that, oh, here's a guy with healing factor, here's a guy who's virtually unkillable. I'm not going to stand for that. That's all the catalyst you need for them to start fighting.
Oh, sorry, so you mentioned this, and you mentioned Superman and Lobo. Have you ever seen that Superman comic book? I'm not sure, I don't remember if it's Man of Steel or what. The one that was, I can't even think what it was. It wasn't color formed, but it used to be these books slash poster things, but it had these stickers that you would rub on, and it would rub on. It would basically transfer the image from like the page of stickers or whatever onto like the background, and so you could create your own little like scenes and stuff.
I've heard of that.
You could like color forms. You could peel them off and put them back on, but these you would like just rub transfer and it transferred on there. They came out with a Superman comic book that had a rub transfer cover, and so it came with a sheet of these transfer images for Lobo and Superman, and the whole comic book cover was just the cityscape with the Daily Planet in the background, and you could basically create your own Lobo versus Superman cover.
That's cool.
Oh man,
that's really cool.
I got I think 2 copies of it. I never did it.
Well, yeah.
But the idea was really kind of cool.
That is awesome. Yeah.
I have to see if I can look that up and find it for you.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that'd be kind of awesome. Where would you set your fight? Because I think that would make a difference too in how it would play out.
I don't think it would just be like one single fight in one place. I think they'd cross paths like multiple times and like for whatever reason would have to break it off. And I think it would be like several smaller fights that span across the entire book if I were to write it. Which granted, writing is not my strongest suit, but I think that would sort of be the approach. Like you start off with like Deadpool taking a job that would be out somewhere in the reaches of space, and then when Lobo kind of catches wind about what Deadpool's all about, he follows him back to Earth, that kind of thing. And the approach I would take in writing how the fight goes, Lobo is definitely stronger than Deadpool. Lobo is basically Superman minus the capability of flight, but Deadpool is still not somebody you can really kill. So I think you would have to kind of tailor your fight scenes to that kind of mindset. But I think at the end of it, just to wrap the story up, I think that ultimately they just decide to team up and wreck shit. And that might be either from a bigger threat coming, it might be from them deciding, oh hey, we can just like split the profit on the bounty, or whatever. But ultimately, neither of them are really killable. You're not going to accomplish much in just having them continue to fight. And so at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be this moment of like, oh hey, we're actually really similar.
So I got an idea.
Okay.
All right, this is I don't know what you think about it. I have an idea. So let's say that Lobo has been hired to hunt Deadpool down and kill him.
Okay.
And for whatever reason he's hired to kill him, and that's kind of what starts it off. And with Deadpool being kind of as unkillable as Lobo is,
right,
it's a really, really difficult task. But then Lobo finds out that the guy that hired him is Deadpool.
Okay.
Deadpool hired him. right? So why would he do this? Because Deadpool is a dick.
Right. So he just wants to piss him off.
Right, because Lobo's reputation is everything to him. So Deadpool hires him to kill him, knowing he can't kill him because he's unkillable, which then means that Lobo has a job that he's never completed, that he can't complete.
And Lobo's word is everything to him.
Right.
When he promises to finish a job, then he will finish that job.
Right. And so the whole time he's like, hey, you haven't done your job. I'm still here, and you still owe me. So the only thing that Lobo can do is that Deadpool has to agree to put the job on hold,
right,
to salvage his reputation. But then knowing that he can be like, oh yeah, I still need you to finish that job sometime. It would just piss Lobo off.
See, that opens the door to it being like a mini series of like Deadpool coming back and needing Lobo's help for something bigger, and Lobo refusing. Was like, yeah, well, you still haven't finished the job with me, so.
It could be like one of those Mixie Explicit crossovers where Deadpool pops over and is like, oh hey, here to cause some trouble again.
So yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be good. I could see that. See now, who else would I want to see in a nice fight? I think it's kind of hard to go outside of the Marvel DC, because I mean you've got other people from other universes and stuff like that. Even though
my next one was going to go outside of Marvel and DC.
Oh yeah, go ahead, take your turn then.
Oh, really? I hate to double up, but
no, go ahead.
This is one we've talked about at some cons.
She doesn't mind.
And what I want to see is Hellboy crossover with Etrigan the Demon and with Spawn.
You had me at Etrigan, you lost me at Spawn.
Really?
Yeah. You know how I feel about Spawn.
Yeah, I know you're not the biggest Spawn fan, but I mean, it all kind of ties in pretty closely. It's all dealing with the demonic and the supernatural and all that. You could just do the story without Spawn, and I think that just Hellboy versus Etrigan would be really, really interesting. Because, Hellboy, as soon as he sees Etrigan, it's going to be a fight. It doesn't need to go beyond that.
That's true.
So it's you don't need a catalyst. You don't need anything crazy going on with it. You just have Jason Blood summon Etrigan, transform himself into Etrigan, and then it's a fight.
Yeah, because Hellboy would be like, "Hey, you're a demon." And then what would Spawn's role be?
Spawn, I think, all Spawn needs to do, if you do bring in Spawn, and I think it would be interesting, is you have Hellboy and Etrigan's fight spill over into Spawn's territory, into his alleyway. He sees this, and he just sees a guy who clearly looks like the devil, and then he's got a guy who looks like Etrigan, and he's like,
these are my bums. This is my alley.
Yeah,
don't you mess with my bums in my alley.
Exactly. It's whatever's going on, it's not going to go on here. So then he gets himself involved. So then you just have this hot steamy three-way.
Oh, nice.
A fight. You have this big fight. So I think, like I said, and even if you don't bring in Spawn, I think that'd be a really, really interesting fight, because you have two really cool characters in that.
What do you think about a Spawn versus Doctor Strange?
That could be interesting. They both have the big stupid cloak, so...
Hey, wait. Doctor Strange's cloak is cool.
Yeah, it does fly and all that.
Well, in the movies it does, but yeah. Doctor Strange's cloak is cool.
It's a good look.
Yeah, I've been watching, of course, I always say this, I've been watching a lot of Age of Ultron, but I'm watching a lot of Age of Ultron, and I love the scene where the Vision is born, and he's looking out at the city, and then he looks at himself in the mirror, and he's like, oh, I need clothes.
Yeah.
And then he flies back over, and he tells Thor thank you, and he looks at Thor, and he looks at his cape, and he creates his own.
Yeah.
and then he kind of looks at him because he just looked like, what?
So how would a fight between Spawn and Doctor Strange go? I think Doctor Strange outclasses Spawn pretty significantly.
You know, what I think would be interesting is how Doctor Doom has had to enlist the help of Strange to go into like Mephisto's realm to try to save his mom's soul and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What if they needed Spawn's help to do that?
Hmm.
Or maybe Malbosha's like, hey, I'll give you whatever it is, but you've got to keep these two guys out of here.
Yeah. Okay. That could be interesting.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't think Spawn would win. Doctor Strange would, hoary host of Hogarth him and bam, he's gone.
Yeah. Doctor Strange is a lot more powerful than they really indicate in the movies, I think. And like they kind of show what he's capable of with the final fight in Doctor Strange, or the whole Dormammu thing.
Yeah.
If he just like traps him in a time loop. But I'm pretty sure Doctor Strange could give Captain Marvel a run for her money, honestly.
Well, yeah, you're talking about energy versus magic. But there's also that scene in Infinity War where he creates the multiple Doctor Stranges to fight Thanos.
Yeah.
They actually have I think it's an action figure, or not action figure. They have a premium format figure, or whatever, of that with all the many arms and stuff.
Yeah,
which is actually kind of cool.
I
was like, that's kind of neat looking. I might want to buy the 250. No, I'm good.
I forgot how cool that was.
I'll pay my mortgage.
Good stuff.
But so as far as who I want to see like in a nice fight that I think would be really kind of cool. I would want to see Wolverine tackle somebody from another comic book company. Not because I'm like a huge Wolverine fan, but he's got that ferocity and that tenacious, like attack mind.
Yeah, for a long time he was the poster child for Marvel.
Right.
Wolverine was the Marvel guy for a long ass time.
And you want to, you always people want to see him like fight someone like like Lobo, which of course we've seen, and that was that was shit. it was what it was. But I don't know. I'd like to see him fight someone in the DCU. Like, I mean, this would not be like a really good matchup, but I think Wolverine versus Batman would be kind of cool.
I was kind of thinking that. I mean, Wolverine is technically unstoppable, but I mean, I think Batman would come out on top in that situation.
It would be interesting to see.
It would. Oh yeah. Because I don't think it would be a quick victory for Batman. I think it would be a thing of, like, eventually figuring out, wait a minute, his claws come from inside of him, and that kind of leads to, like, using electromagnets or something. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, it's not really super different than what he deals with in fighting Magneto, where it's like, oh no, my adamantine skeleton is working against me? I didn't see this coming. But no, I think it'd be interesting to, like, that kind of gives Batman a reason to do the whole detective work thing, which we've both complained about, that you never get to see enough of that.
Right.
You don't get to see Batman being a detective, and so I think the whole thing of, like, showing Batman's thought process of, wait a minute, I have reason to believe that this metal that's sprouting out of his body can be used against him. So I think that would be really interesting.
All right, so here's a match that I would love to see.
Okay.
Big Barda versus She-Hulk.
Ooh, that would be sexy as all hell.
Oh my god, yes it would. But yeah, because I love me some Big Barda and I love me some She-Hulk. They're both just powerhouses of women, and just watching two of them just go at it would just fight wise. I was gonna say pounding each other. I was like, that doesn't work either. But just watching two of them throw down like that would be something. Big Barda, for those of you that don't know, Big Barda was born and raised on Apocalypse, which is the planet that's owned by Darkseid. Darkseid, if you don't know, is the ultimate ruler of Apocalypse. He's a guy that drilled holes into his planet down to the core. And created what they call fire pits. So the core of the heat of the planet pours out through these holes and just makes it insufferable and unlivable. Mm-hmm. And he believes almost like an apocalypse thing where only the strong survive and the strong thrive. So he gets people and he will put them through like this training a camp or whatever to make them into soldiers. And it's run by Granny Goodness. And the best soldiers who become part of his elite guard would be and the women would become like female Furies and that sort of stuff. And Big Barda was one of those, and she led the female Furies, which was like the elite version of like this like female I guess like soldier like I don't know really what to call them, but they're not mercenaries, but they're his enforcers. So it's this Stompa or Lashina, Stompa, and I can't remember the crazy chick's name.
I never knew as much about the Fourth World series as I wanted to.
But ultimately, Big Barda kind of she helped Mr. Miracle scot-free escape, and then they ran off together and they did their thing. And so taking someone like that who has lived on Apocalypse and strong enough to lead his army of the females, and then taking someone like She-Hulk she's not Hulk level powerful. Well, I think now she is, ever since she got killed or really grievously injured during the battle with Thanos in Civil War 2, and all that. So putting the two of them together, that would be just a powerhouse match. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I think one of them would die. I do believe it would be She-Hulk. I think that ultimately Barda would end up beating her to death. But the battle itself would just rage on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I think what it would end up coming down to eventually would be She-Hulk would probably just lose control. She would just rage out to where she wasn't thinking clearly, and so any kind of like training and battle tactics she has would not be there. As where Big Barda, even as the battle goes on, she is a soldier through and through, and she would end up gaining the upper hand that way.
I like it. So I haven't thought about this one too deeply, but I think just doing like a pure martial arts story could be interesting. Crossing over Elektra with DC's Ronin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Frank Miller Ronin.
Why Elektra and not Daredevil?
Just because she's got more the ninja aesthetic that I like, and she's hotter. So
okay. I will say that Elektra is hotter than Daredevil.
Because like when I
think about which one I'm going to picture naked, it's always Elektra.
Well, most of the time, yeah. But like when
Kingpin.
Right, yeah. But like that's the thing. Like when I think of Daredevil, I think of him going up against like crime bosses and like guys like Kingpin, and like he's in the New York setting. When I think of Elektra, I think of her going up against the Hand and in more of an Oriental setting. So I think that would be a pretty interesting crossover.
But you know that Daredevil's fought the Hand numerous times.
Well, yeah.
And during the Shadowlands storyline, he actually led the Hand.
I didn't realize that he'd led them, but still, I mean, that's just where my mind defaults to.
No, that's not bad. I meant to add in earlier, and I forgot that the Deathstroke and Taskmaster. Another fight I'd like to see would be Deathstroke versus Bullseye.
Ooh, that could be good.
Yeah. Now, I think ultimately Bullseye would lose, because once Deathstroke gets in close, it's all over. But he has to get in close.
Right, yeah.
And Bullseye does have that adamantium spine because of when Daredevil threw him off a building and he landed on that car.
Right.
So there's that. But yeah, that would be a really nice fight too. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing. I don't think Batman would be a good fight, but Bullseye versus Nightwing.
Ooh, that could be good.
Would be nice.
That could be good. And I don't know these characters as well as you do, but maybe you can tell me if this sounds like it'd be a good encounter. How about Hawkeye versus Mr. Miracle? Because they both have kind of a similar like background, right?
See, that wouldn't match up as well, because Mr. Miracle. So ultimately, Mr. Miracle is still a new god.
Right. Okay.
So that kind of outclasses Hawkeye quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, that's the difficulty of DC and Marvel crossovers.
But Mr. Miracle is more about the being an escape artist, as where Hawkeye did spend time in the circus. But I don't think that when it comes down to it, he would be able to beat him. Now, it could be that Mr. Miracle, like on top of him just being who he is, there's also the added aspect of he's got Mother Box, which he will use if he needs to, and,
Right.
and it may actually end up using anyway, just naturally. But I don't really know. But him fighting Hawkeye, I don't think would be fair to Hawkeye.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Like I said, I don't know either of those characters quite as well as you do.
Well, I am a fan of both of them. I love me some Hawkeye. I was thinking about what would make a good Hawkeye battle, but Green Arrow versus Hawkeye, just Arrow versus Arrow, and in the end, Hawkeye wins. I know people are like, no, it won't, but I think Hawkeye's a much better hand-to-hand fighter than Green Arrow is.
Yeah.
I mean, not only does Hawkeye train by swordsmen and was trained by Captain America, but Hawkeye also took on the mantle of Ronin,
Right.
During the time that he came back after the House of M storyline. And during Ronin, he did not use a bow at all. He was straight up martial arts and swords. And they thought he was the actual guy that was Ronin, which originally I think was Daredevil.
That sounds right.
And so, yeah, that kind of changed it right there.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's been a Daredevil Batman crossover, before, but I think a Daredevil versus Nightwing would be a good fight.
That could be pretty interesting, yeah.
Because Nightwing's not as strong as Batman is, obviously. But that would be pretty nice.
Yeah.
So, who do we have? We've got a bunch of other series and companies out there. You've got the Dynamite and IDW and all that kind of stuff.
IDW, Dark Horse has some good stuff. What about the Max? Who could the Max cross over with?
Oh, the Max.
Because I love me the Max.
See, I don't really know what the Max does. What are his abilities?
He's just a big, strong, crazy guy. I mean, if you're gonna get into the really deep lore of the story, then he's got the connection to the dreaming and all that stuff. But primarily, as far as what he does, is he just fights and he draws his strength from his dedication to protecting Julie. So
that's a tough one.
That is a tough one. It would be pretty interesting to see him cross over with Daredevil.
Really, Max and Daredevil?
Yeah. I mean, the Daredevil kind of outclasses him with combat prowess, but, I mean, the Max's whole thing is, I've got to protect Julie. Here's a guy dressed like a devil. Obviously, he means harm.
I think that you could even things out by having the Max take him into the dreaming,
Yeah.
which would then nullify his radar sense.
Yeah. Ooh.
Because in a dreaming world, the radar sense may behave the way it does in the real world.
Right, yeah. That could be interesting, yeah. I love Sam Keith's art of the dreaming, depicting Julie as the Jungle Queen. He really, his art really shines there.
Now, isn't that part more watercolor than the rest of the book? Or am I remembering wrong?
Nah, you're right. There's different segments of the book. There are also moments in the real world where he'll just watercolor it. It just kind of depends on whatever he's in the mood for that page. Keith is very much an abstract artist and very much pours emotions into a page. So you'll just see a page that's just all ink and brush, and then there will be one panel that he's just intricately detailed with watercolor. It's really cool. I really like seeing his original pages.
That would be kind of neat.
Beta Ray Bill, who could he cross over with?
Oh man, see. Oh, if we're in the DC universe, who would Beta Ray Bill fight?
Yeah,
that would be a tough one.
It's the first thing that pops into my head is Martian Manhunter, but
no, Martian Manhunter would definitely outclass him.
Yeah,
because not only does Martian Manhunter he's a strong Superman. He has telepathy. He can change his shape. He can become intangible. He can fly. He has a kind of a heat/laser vision. I mean, you've already just kind of said that Beta Ray Bill doesn't have a chance. Plus, as good as Beta Ray Bill is, he's not a fighter.
Okay.
He's not a fighter,
right,
in the sense that Thor is. This whole thing was his planet needed help. They needed to send somebody in a spaceship out to get help. but his race was weak, and they wouldn't be able to survive the rigors of space and all that kind of stuff. And I think that so they had a basically almost like an Olympic game to see who was the strongest among them. The winner of that would then undergo this series of enhancements, and that would then allow them to be able to survive the space travel to go and get help. But also like completely transform their body to the point they don't look anything like the rest of their race.
Right, yeah.
Which is why when after the enchantment that he was given his own hammer, and the enchantment that was put on it, when he hits his hammer and he changed back to normal, he changes back to what he looked like before any of the enhancements.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So because of that, he's fought, and he's gained some fighting knowledge over time, but he's not a fighter.
Right.
He was a he just happened to be a guy that was survivalist of sorts.
So I've got two that are going to be kind of strange.
Okay.
But we're pretty close to the end, so I'm just going to throw these out here. So first, neither of these are DC or Marvel.
Okay.
Rorschach versus Mr. A.
When they just both throw each other down an elevator shaft.
They would try. See, I mean, that's the thing. It's like neither of these guys really have powers per se. They just have a lot of tenacity. And they're both coming from very similar philosophies. Mr. A is basically like idealized objectivism. It's idealized A is A, morality is morality, good is good, evil is evil. And that's what drives and defines the character. Rorschach is like that plus anarchy. And so you're kind of like taking objectivism and you're stripping away any restrictions that it might have. And so Rorschach's whole thing is, I decide that this is evil, so I'm going to fucking break it. Which, I mean, I love the character. I think Rorschach is a fantastic character. So, I think it would be very interesting that like, these guys are basically, like, their philosophies are basically ugly cousins to each other in a lot of ways.
Right.
And so seeing these two guys face each other Mr. A is going to decide, right is right, wrong is wrong. You're doing things in a certain way that I don't approve of. And Rorschach's whole thing is, I can't compromise. I'm not going to let this guy decide that I'm doing wrong. And so they're just butting heads from that. So it's more of a philosophical approach, more so than, a clash of superpowers. So I think if it were written well, that would be a really, really good story.
The funny thing is, where you describe that is, I would see them both hunting for each other for the exact same reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they both catch wind of some guy doing what they're doing, but not in the way they approve of.
Right.
So, because, I mean, you can imagine, like, looking at the way Rorschach would butt heads with, like, Night Owl, imagine him coming across somebody like Mr. A, that it's not going to work at all.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of like a Fight Club thing with Jack and Marla, where I don't recognize the similarities in us.
Yeah.
That should make us friends, but instead I just see everything that's wrong with you, without recognizing this. It's all the things that I cherish in myself.
Right, yeah. So like the fighting between them would be so secondary compared to, why don't either of you see what's wrong with your philosophy? So I think that would be really interesting. And so then I'm going to throw out my last one here, and if you have any more, then feel free. But I want to see Galactus versus Dr. Manhattan.
That's not a contest, man. That's not a contest. I understand that Galactus has, the power cosmic, and it's infinite, but there's still so much he can't do, and
he is limited. But I think ultimately Dr. Manhattan would win. But I think if it were handled right, it could be pretty interesting.
There's one thing that they could possibly tilt things in Galactus' favor. Because Galactus is super smart. Dr. Manhattan doesn't really come across as being super smart. He just comes across as being semi-omnipotent.
Right.
I mean, not to say he's stupid, but you don't really see him really calculating things.
Right.
He just acts. And
primarily, it's just like how Ozymandias got the drop on him.
Right.
It's like, well, if you're omnipotent, then why did you let that happen?
And the thing is, he's like, because I live in all these worlds at once, all these times at once, I'm not really doing anything except for what I've already done.
Right, right.
I'm doing what I've already done, what I'm going to do, and so that kind of limits him. So with that, I think the thing that could be done that could help, swing it in Galactus' favor is one, Galactus summoning all of his former heralds. So you're talking about Gabriel Airwalker, if he's still alive, or one of his robots. Was it Fire? It's not Firestorm. Was it?
It was
Fire. It's not Firewalker. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about, but I'm blanking on the name.
Yeah, the guy that got his ass beat by Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Firelord.
that's right, Firelord.
Firelord, Nova, Silver Surfer, Morg, and any of the also Rans that came after that. Right. So summoning all of them to help him fight, but then ultimately Galactus would figure out what makes Dr. Manhattan tick, and then would create a tachyon field around them. The tachyon field would then cut Dr. Manhattan off from, just like they do in the Watchmen, would cut him off from his future or his prescience.
Yeah.
And so he would have no idea of how the battle would end.
Yeah.
And then at that point, Galactus would be able to kind of like have his way, because he wouldn't know what to do because it hasn't happened yet, or he has no knowledge of what happens.
Right, yeah.
And that could swing it in his favor.
That could be pretty interesting, yeah.
All right. So my last one I'm going to toss out for right now is, and as much as I'm not really a fan of black on black crime, black on black violence, Mr. Terrific versus Black Panther. Both of them are super intelligent,
right?
And just technological like giants and engineers and creators. And they're both, just very, very good hand-to-hand combatants.
Right, yeah.
They're very equally matched. I think that would be a good fight.
That would be. Okay, I like it.
I think they would be so equally matched, though, that it would probably end up in a draw. Or maybe even recognizing that it would that there would be no winner.
Yeah.
If you really came down to it, it could be one of those things where they would meet, and then they would kind of like mutually like kind of size each other up and play this game of like chess against each other and be like, this is going to end in a stalemate, but with like this amount of destruction.
Well, yeah, like the old samurai story where the two samurai meet each other on the bridge and they just like stare at each other for like minutes, and they both just turn around and walk away because they both know it's like neither of us are going to get past the other.
Right.
So yeah, I like that. That would be really cool. And of course, the ultimate crossover, of course, would be Silver Surfer meets Child Anakin. Silver Surfer flies down and says, "I'm the power cosmic. I'm the herald of Galactus." And Anakin goes, "Are you an angel?" "No, I fly on this board. I can fly a pod racer."
I, Galactus, choose you, Anakin Skywalker, as my new herald. I
can fly a surfboard! Go forth, Anakin, with the power cosmic. Yippee! Now this is pod racing!
Oh.
Flies down to Professor Xavier's school and he sees Archangel and he says, "Oh my god! That's a real angel! The rumors are true!"
I learned how to use the Force! Oh.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, yeah, that was that was a fun one. I was pretty excited to like try to think of some crossovers when we came into this. So I think this was pretty fun.
Yep. I dug it. I think it was pretty cool to kind of to match up. And I think we could probably do some more matchups. I think I had one that I told you about before, but I didn't. I couldn't remember it right now. But yeah. To some more just like really good. It's not about like I want to watch this person dominate the other person. Like what would make a really really good fight?
Right. Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that would make a really good fight. Now I'll add one more in there. And I'm not going to go into any detail.
Okay.
Captain Marvel. So Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel versus Orion from the New Gods.
Ooh,
that would be a good fight.
That would be a great fight. All right.
And I stayed away from stuff like Thanos versus like Darkseid. Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet versus Darkseid. Darkseid's really really powerful.
Right.
And if you're saying Thanos has to have the Infinity Gauntlet to it, that'd be like, okay, now I'm gonna put this guy with an axe versus this guy right here. It's like no, and it's not the same. And I thought about something like Apocalypse versus like Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of awesome too.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that if he would even be able to survive that. Like where enough to make it a good battle. I mean,
right,
not that he has to survive, but would the match last long enough to really be able to say, "Oh, this was a good battle"?
Yeah. Because I mean, it's also about having a good story in there. So yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for giving us a listen.
Oh shit! I did just come up with one more.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna think about it a little bit longer and maybe talk about it the next time we do this.
Okay.
The New Mutants versus the Teen Titans.
Ooh.
The new Teen Titans. The New Mutants versus the new Teen Titans.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
That could be pretty interesting.
Because you got some heavy hitters on both sides. You got Starfire, who's really powerful. Raven, Flash, Robin, Cyborg. But then you've got Mirage. You depending on what you want to bring into it, you've got Psyche, Mirage, Cannonball, Sunspot, Magma, Warlock, Douglock. You could really do some shit with that. That would be a nice fight. I'm gonna get the Wallcrawler on that and see what he thinks.
Yeah, definitely. He would be a fun one to bring in for a conversation like this.
Yeah, man. I'll reach out to him and see. Maybe what we do is we'll take we'll like do a matchup of like who would fight who, and then like he'll they say he'll be like, okay, Cyborg versus Sunspot.
Right,
he'll take that one. He'll like say, this is how I see that battle playing out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. That'd be kind of awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey everybody, thanks for giving us a listen.
Yep. And we'll come back and probably do another one of these, sometime in the near future.
Yeah, I think so.
We won't do them too often, but I think it'd be nice to see just like a nice old school matchup, like who would do well against whom.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm just going to say, obviously we stayed away from something like Avengers versus Justice League because that's been played out so many times.
Yeah.
Not only in the actual crossover, but the Sinister Squadron Supreme, Sinister Supreme, whatever you want to call them, they're basically the equivalent of the Justice League, and they fought the Avengers so many times. So we've seen that play out.
Right, yeah.
And it's, that's really no fun.
Yeah, we don't want to do the tired stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing new we can add to that.
All right. Well, hey, be sure to check out some of our other episodes, and we'll be back with more later.
Yeah. So until the time, Excelsior. No, that's not my line. What do I say again?
You say, "Oh, I'm Turquoise 82."
Yeah. So until next time, grass tastes bad.
Later, everybody.
All right there, folks. That was Our Moms Think We're Funny. Let's give them a hand.